Hey, greetings, everybody. Lance Bell here, Chief Artificial Intelligence Officer and founder for ServingIntel. I appreciate you coming and enjoying today's webinar. We're going to be doing secret sauce today. This is one of my personal favorite things to do, to share with not just our audience, our customers, but just anybody on the planet on how you can use AI to enhance significantly personal productivity. And I'll have several examples of that as we go through this. And this, if we were to call this AI basics, it's more than that. But if we were to call it AI basics, it's actually ended up becoming a two-parter. So we're going to go through the first part of this today, which will give you a plate full of food. And then we'll come back and we'll do a part two from this. And then we'll get into what I call multimodal. Actually, that's what the industry calls it. That is a large language models that are able to do more than chat. This is create videos, create pictures. Last week, I wrote a book. The book was illustrated. It was produced, and I'm supposed to have it on my front doorstep today from Amazon, the actual copy of the book. So from idea to finished product in a week and a half. And the first time I wrote a book back in 2017, it took me 4 years to write the book. I'm not an author. I hate writing. That's why it took me 4 years. That and having full-time gigs and other things going on. So for those who are in attendance today, you have questions, please drop your questions into the Q&A, and I'll leave a couple minutes at the end of this to answer any. My partner in crime, Arnell Belda here, will help me with those questions as we go through this. And we're going to start off with mastering AI in collaboration, because that's really what this is. Working with artificial intelligence today, first, there are a ton of solutions out there. The two that I use, I'm going to stick with the secret sauce theme. I'm going to share with you what I actually do. The two that I use on a regular basis is ChatGPT, latest model 5.0, and then Claude AI. Their latest model is Sonnet 4.5. Now, I do pay for those because I use them for hours and hours each day. So I'm paying the $20. I believe I know in chat it's called the Plus plan, and it's $20 on the Claude.ai program as well. They both have a Pro plan that's $200 a month, but the $20 a month has been phenomenal. For most of the people that I know who aren't using it for hours per day, the free plans work fantastic. So everything I share with you today, you can do for free. And as you start using it more, if you start hitting limits, and you will, where they'll cut you off for a period of time, that $20 a month might be worth it to you. I've been paying OpenAI $20 a month, going all the way back to 3.5 model coming out long time ago. So when you're using AI, like why should you use AI today? I've checked some recent stats, and one of the ones I saw was 19% of U.S. workers use AI at least once a day. So that means one person out of five is using AI on a daily basis. And what I've said in multiple webinars and speaking events is do not worry about AI replacing your job, but you better worry about another human who's mastered AI at taking your job, because that's literally what we're talking about here. So what does AI do? First, it's a multiplier. It does things for you that today are mind-blowing. Again, writing a book. Now, it's not, this is important, it's not as simple as going, hey, chat, write me a book about this subject. It was a multiple hour process. I'll get deeper into that as we go. Your results equal the quality of your direction. There's a simple word when it comes to this. It's called context. This is a very important word. In fact, my wife and I, we have a marriage ministry, and we're working with husbands and wives. The reason why there's so much dissension in so many marriages is because of a lack of context. And outside of context, we make assumptions. Well, these large language models are spectacular at making assumptions because they work on what's called predictive text. They're predicting based on math what are the odds of the next word following the next word following the next word? A simple little thing called hallucinations. Very rare these days, very rare. Hallucinations is when the model makes something up and represents it as truth. It'll make up a fact, a date. It happens all the time in legal cases. It'll make up an entire lawsuit if you allow it. And there's a way, even though hallucinations are very rare today, there's a way to eliminate it. That's another thing that I'll share you as we're going through this. So this is about amplifying intelligence. When you use AI, it increases your creativity. This is a huge part of this. Some people who haven't engaged yet think if I use AI, it's going to make me dumb. Absolutely not. If you use artificial intelligence, it's going to raise your creativity up significantly. And when we talk about a 300% increase in productivity, you can do a lot more than that. No question about it. But it comes back to how you're going to use the models. And the way to think about this, I like to, first, one of the things, I'm going to give you step number one. It's a 5-step process for the last couple of years. Today, it's become an 8-step process, and we're going to go through those 8 steps today. Step number one is give your solution a name. And this is very important. So you're going to hear me mention these names today. For ChatGPT, his name, his pronoun is Elon. So anytime Elon is loosely a co-founder of OpenAI back in the early days. So anytime I'm interfacing with ChatGPT, it's Elon. Anytime I'm interfacing with Claude, it's Claude. I'm a simple man. And so I have conversations all day long with Elon and Claude. Sometimes the conversations are adversarial. Most of the time, the conversations are collaborative. So you can imagine here in my office, I've got a person on my right, I got a person on my left, and the 3 of us work together to get the productivity gains that we're talking about. So think about whoever you name your AI solution, if you haven't yet, think about how you're going to personalize it so that becomes your go-to person. They're not just, as it says on the screen, not just a task robot. So this presentation I'm sharing with you was shared within our organization just a couple of weeks ago. So this is fresh. And again, this is our secret sauce. So getting into this, leading with clarity, iterating with precision, and then finishing with excellence. The standards that you get out of this should be higher than you expect. And when you start doing some of these projects, I'll give you some homework. As you start doing some of these projects, I believe you'll be amazed at their results. And that's one of the things that you actually can do is raise your expectation. When you come out of these, everything that you get, I'm creating documents, I'm creating game plans. You have to think in terms of storage now. And actually storage in 2 different ways. One, as you're creating this information, where are you going to put it so that you can go back and reference it later? I've got a folder for books. I've written 4 books now. I'm working on number 5. There's a folder for each one of the different books. And then you get in there, you separate the text from the illustrations. So you want to think in your mind, you want to know and think ahead. How am I going to keep all this stuff organized? And when I said this is a cross-reference, when you come back to projects later, you're going to grab those earlier documents and you're going to put them into the chat session for the purpose of building quickly. A massive sales and marketing project right now that it's multi-phases over 90 days. And the original document's 57 pages long. But each time I do a part of a phase of that document, I have it create a report card. And I save the report cards of work that's been completed in the same folder as the original work. So this morning, I came back and dropped 4 documents in, which is the main document, a sub-document, and then 2 report cards. And now instantly, chat, in this case, Elon, knows exactly where I'm at, exactly where I've left off. I don't have to waste any time going back and providing that context. So think about it, your information that you're going to save, organize, and store is your context to be more productive in future conversations. And so the things that we do for our company, every one of our team members utilizes AI. It's a requirement that they utilize AI. Our organization has been blessed in that we're a Microsoft partner. We got approved early on for what was called AI Studio. Today it's called AI Foundry. And so our organization, we have access to over 30 different models that are within Azure. Again, we've gone through a change to our DNA as a company. We are an AI company that uses technology to better serve our customers. At the end of the day, it's all about serving. That's what this is about. So if you take all these things, you're going to have the vision, you're going to have the structure, you're going to put all this together, and you're going to get execution. You're going to get great things that come out of this. So starting off, I said, the old rule of 5, give it a name. Second, you got to give it context. And this is what I call dreaming sessions. Now, you want to give the Elon or Claude the job role. This is step number 2. So I go, hey, Elon, I was working on a legal document yesterday. So, hey, Elon, you're the world's greatest business attorney who's an expert in contract law. Then is there anything, this is within the venue of the state of Illinois. You want to give him the model, the context as to their job role. So here on the screen, you could say, I'm building a 90-day AI revenue playbook for senior living executives. That goes into step number 3 of the old model. Here's the role. Now, what do I need you to do? And so you start providing the context, the scenario, if you will, for the senior living model. As you get into it, this ends up being about a 5-paragraph initial conversation. So I like to say you start at the strategy level, and as you go through the conversation, you're going to work your way down to the tactical or down to the nitty gritty. So I call these literally dreaming sessions. I use my microphone. I have a Windows on the computer in office. I hit the Windows logo button and the letter H, which activates your microphone. And I just sit back and I just start talking. Now, this is just, this is not advanced voice. This isn't a back and forth conversation audibly. This is just me sharing everything. It's like doing a mind dump. I share everything in the world that I want with the solution that I choose. Now, you might be asking yourself right now, why Elon and Claude? Great question. Every week, somebody else has the best model in the world. The technology is iterating and upgrading so fast, it's crazy. Claude is amazing at detailed analysis. This is generating software code, math problems, legal. When I ask for a legal document, Elon, ChatGPT, will give me a 3 to 5 page document. Claude will give me a 17-page document, incredibly verbose, incredibly detailed. And there's a strategy. How do you handle it when one gives you a 5-page and one gives you a 17-page? There's absolutely a way to handle it. So putting in the context, providing the direction, and getting your draft going is what you want. Don't worry about perfection. I don't go back and clean up grammar. It'll handle any misspellings. You just want to have a free-flowing conversation in order to provide context. Then this is where you really start to get into the meat of this. What do you want to have the model do? What is the goal? And I recommend that you be incredibly verbose when you get to what we're talking about here as far as what your expectations are. For the book that I just wrote, with the title, which was provided by AI, the title of the book is AI for the Heart of Senior Living. Flowery, I'll share with you the cover. A very flowery, emotionally engaging title that never would have came out of me as a person. But when you play out the context, what am I trying to achieve by writing this book? From the context came the title. And when I read the title, I was like, okay, that's a no-brainer. That fits. Everything's in place right now. So when you get to the nitty-gritty, what is going to be the output? In this case, it was actually Elon. Elon, I want you to write the world's best book that serves senior living executives on how to implement artificial technology solutions into their communities. I want case studies, statistics, I want stories. This has to be the best book in the history of mankind. And that's always what I do. I set the standard for anything we're going to produce all the way up to the roof. And that really releases the reins. It removes the guardrails, if you will, on what type of output you're going to get out of this. But at the same time, you have to dial it back in because you're going to get a lot of crazy stuff, and you're going to have to dial it back in. That's the iteration phase. So merging and evolving, as I mentioned, outputs. So a 17-page legal document, a 5-page legal document, where I have the models work collaboratively. And most of the time, they are working collaboratively. And so in the case of the book, Elon was the writer of the book, and Claude was the editor of the book. And what was amazing about this, as we built the framework, so it was a 10-chapter book, it had a foreword, it has an epilogue, it has all the parts of a professional book. As we were putting the book together, Elon wrote a chapter, I copied, I went over to Claude, I pasted, and Claude was the book reviewer. So Claude had the context. You are the best book editor and reviewer in the history of mankind. Here is the book that we're writing. And that's the copy paste of the prompt that started the whole book conversation. So I'm not having to redo the work. There's going to be a lot of copy pasting when you're using two models. And let me share with you another personal productivity tip. A long time ago, I read that if you have two monitors in your office, you are 45% more productive than if you only had one. Now, again, this stat was probably from 20 years ago. Today, as I look at you, I have three monitors. I got one on my left, I got one on my right, and I've got one in the middle. And so it's super helpful when you're working with two models to have one on the left, one on the right, and your output in the middle. So highly recommend three models. So as you get to this point, you ask them to analyze the other model's work and create a super hybrid, taking the best aspects of each work into a single work. So the 5-page document and the 12-page document get morphed together. And what's great about this is you ask for pros and cons, and it goes through, and this is what they do. They create a table. And so for each section of this legal document, they put Elon's work is better for this reason. My work, Claude's, is better for this reason. And so they do this true analysis back and forth, and then they create a hybrid document. So I give each of them the other person's output. I tell them to create a hybrid. And then depending on how I'm feeling as I'm reading through and editing this work, I'll take each of them, I'll take their hybrids, put them back together, and tell them to create another hybrid. So we're talking about basically washing intelligence in order to get the absolute best output. Now you can use more than two models, but between Claude AI and ChatGPT, they've both been phenomenal enough that I haven't had to go to any others. In the past, I have used Meta's AI, which is meta.ai. It's a great model. Elon Musk is coming on great with all things XAI. Grok. He's got Grok 5 out right now, and I'm hearing amazing things. So probably at some point soon, I may look to introduce Grok into the mix. But right now, those two models have served fantastic. So by having both analyze and create new plans, hybrids or super plans, that's how you increase the quality, the output of the work. And then you get into how do we move this to deliverables. This is when you start asking for action plans. That's again, this is another mind-blowing thing. For most human beings, if I were to walk into somebody's office and put a 57-page document on their desk and say, do this and leave, they'd probably quit, right? Yeah, how do you eat a whale? One bite at a time. Well, that one bite at a time, that's the critical piece of this. If you ask these models for questions, they're going to put 10 or 12 questions in front of you, 20 questions in front of you. And so you have to be emphatic. In fact, this is a step. My step is asking the model to ask me questions, one question at a time, in order to get more context. And here's the question. Hey, Elon, what else do you need in order to create the best book in the history of mankind? Ask me only one question at a time. Repeat, ask me only one question at a time. You have to be emphatic because these models like to just supercharge and dump questions in your lap. So when I did this with the book about a week ago, again, working with my editor and my writer, Elon gave me like 60 questions and Claude gave me like 70 questions. I was like, 130 questions. Now, I instantly knew between these 130 questions, there was a lot of carryover, right? So as I just shared with you a minute ago, I take the list of questions, I give it to the other person, analyze your questions versus the other person's questions, and give me an awesome list of questions. And it came out with about 85 questions. Now, even that is a lot. I like to consider myself lazy. I don't have any interest in sitting down and typing out answers or voice wrecking answers in for 85 questions. And so what I did is I used another solution as a Microsoft shop, and we're in a Microsoft Teams webinar right now. This is being recorded and it's doing the transcription. So I got my partner in crime, Arnell. We went into a recorded meeting session where Arnell asked me the questions one at a time, nice and slow. I sat back in my office chair and I let the answers flow. Again, purpose is context. And so, Lance, how did you get involved with senior living? I mean, a lot of the questions, because of the book, went back to personal experiences I had in working with operators, being on site, talking to different culinary directors. I mean, it really got deep and I just shared a lot of stories. That's how you humanize a book. It's the only way to humanize a book is to add the human ingredient into the book. And so I think Arnell and I, we did this interview. It took about an hour and a half. And what was beautiful is once we were done and we ended the session, I just went to Copilot, downloaded the transcript, and then gave the answers to the questions to both AI solutions instantly. And had everything they needed in order to write that book. So getting into execution mode, that's where we're like, okay, you got the framework of the book, you got the context of the book. Now it's time to start writing the book. And that's what came out of this, the production of the book. And then I shared, we were doing this one at a time. So one chapter at a time. Elon wrote it. Claude reviewed it. Claude gave it a score, anywhere from 85% accurate to 93% accurate. It was never 100% the first time through. And so I take the review notes that came at Claude, I took it back over to Elon and said, Elon, you missed a bunch of stuff. Look at what Claude had to say about the chapter and rewrite the chapter. And they rewrote the chapter, I took it back. And once I got anywhere from 99% to 100%, then the chapter was done. Bank it, go on to the next one. And so putting them into Word docs, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, putting it all together so that I can end up building the full manuscript. That's how this entire thing came to pass. So clarifying and educating is what this is about. As you're going through this too, there's acronyms. There's going to be things that are going to be fed out to you. Not only should your creativity go through the roof, your personal creativity, but your personal curiosity also needs to go through the roof. As I was creating a new sales and marketing program for this new AI age, it said, you're going to be doing ABM marketing. And I saw the acronym a couple of times, but I stopped. Like, I never heard of ABM in terms of marketing. What are you talking about? And it was an old term. I'd never seen it before. It was account-based marketing. Well, if I hadn't stopped and analyzed and asked questions, I wouldn't have got the answer in order for me to have more context. So expect to get information out of these models that exceed your knowledge, your context, and again, ask questions, get super curious. And I did the ABM. What does ABM stand for? I just did that off of memory. It's actually right here in the PowerPoint slide. So the understanding and the context is mutual. Make sure that you make it mutual. Then getting into the core principles of this, the output of the work, having it review the output of the work once you're finally done. And what you get out of this is amazing. It solves problems when you talk about things from a strategic standpoint. If you're struggling in any different area of your business, you have the opportunity to ask questions, give context, ask questions, and get solutions to different areas, not just solving projects. So having this be a part of your strategy for us, our organization, we're looking to 2x our revenues for next year, a 100% increase, a 2 times increase. And so we've got some really high aspirations of what we're going to do. If we were using our old method, the old method, if you get a 5 or a 10% increase in revenues, you're happy, right? In this day of scale, you have the technology and the solutions to be able to actually scale and really go crazy. And so with every session, you're going to come to a final deliverable. As I mentioned earlier, you're going to want to put that into a Word doc. These solutions will actually create the Word doc. You don't have to copy paste into a blank Word doc. They'll create spreadsheets. Again, to reiterate something I said earlier, you put into the solution the things you want analyzed. So not only will the models consume a Word document or consume a spreadsheet, they'll consume PDF files spectacularly, consume pictures spectacularly, screenshots. In fact, funny story, I was walking through my neighborhood the other day, and there were 2 women on the side of the road looking down at the road, and there was a snake on the road. And we're in Chicago, it's a little cold out, and the snake was about 2 feet long. And they were looking at it, and the snake's eyes were open, and it looked alive. And I'm like, it looks like it's round eyes. It doesn't look like it's squinted. I can't believe it's a poisonous snake. I took a picture of it, and I asked Elon, what is this? And Elon came back and said, a garter snake, not poisonous. Okay, great. Well, the woman had ran over it, so it was dead, but the snake was so long, I didn't see the tire tracks. So literally taking pictures, if you happen to be taking meds, have you ever thought about this? If you're taking medicines, you ever take a picture of the label and then ask Elon or Claude, what side effects should I be concerned with? And here's an even better thing. If you're taking 2 or more medicines, take pictures of the different labels, bring it all together, and ask what side effects could I suffer by having 2 or more medicines that are causing more complicated side effects. So your opportunity to use this goes way beyond work. I use it in personal life all the time. Last, I mentioned earlier, voice activated mode. When I'm driving down the road, I've got ChatGPT, the app on my phone, speaker through the car, and I'm having an interactive dialogue back and forth with Elon about all kinds of things. Physics, we've been talking about string theory, the latest in quantum computers. So there's a lot of really cool things that are happening in our world right now. And you can dream that it has nothing to do with work, personal productivity. You could just continue to expand your mind. So here's the 8-step framework. You can pause the video right now if you want to go and recap all of this information. This is how I use AI on a daily basis, and it is multiple hours on a daily basis. And real quick here, I will pull up, as we're concluding this presentation, I'll share with you all this cover. I mentioned illustrations, and we used AI to create the book cover, and I'll pull it up on the screen so you all can see it. It's really pretty awesome. There we go. And you can see here the formatting on this. So here is the lady in what would be the senior living. You kind of tell she looks like she's in a senior living community. We got other people, other senior citizens in the background in chairs. And here we've got this beautiful technology, floating heart, AI for the heart of senior living, how artificial intelligence restores compassion, clarity, and connection and care. I can tell you, I'm not smart enough to have created the title and created the subtitle, but I didn't start the book off with asking for the title. The title's irrelevant. You write the book, and then the context of the finished work. Oh, by the way, what should be the title? Boom. And then you get into, we actually have a black and white illustration that represents each chapter as a cartoon caricature. And in here in the back, this is another thing too, AI has memory. And so as you're interacting, it's going to pick up tidbits about you. It's kind of one of the cool things. If you've been working with a model for a while, if you've been using AI for any period of time, here's part of your homework. Ask the model what it knows about you. Tell me about Lance Bell. Share everything you know, and you'll be pretty surprised. It'll come back and give you a 3 to 5 paragraph bio, and that's really what I use it for. Create a bio. I'm speaking at the California Assisted Living Show in a couple of weeks in Palm Springs. Give me a bio for senior living. Give me a bio for marriage ministry. I can ask for a bio for any different type of audience, and I get a customized bio for that audience. And so this book will be available on Amazon soon. I didn't ask you to come here so I could sell you a book. Actually, here I'm going to be mailing out autographed signed copies of the book. And so Arnell's got a link that he'll be sharing with folks. So if you'd like a free copy of this book, it would be our pleasure to send it to you for taking the time to participate in this webinar. And Arnell, I don't see any questions. Are we good on questions?
Yes, no questions so far.
That's the norm. I appreciate y'all carving out 30 minutes for me. This will be posted on YouTube. You can reach out to me at any time through LinkedIn, or you can send me an email at lbell@servingintel.com. Again, L for Lance, BELL, 5 letters, at servingintel.com. And it would be my pleasure to serve you. I pray you all make it a great day. Thank you.